Dan Bongino, who I would call a true patriot, Tea Party type candidate, not running from that label, is just absolutely 99-1 against his opponent, and is barring any plane crashes or whatever. And believe me, Obama doesn't like him, so that's a serious issue. Dan Bongino is probably going to end up being in Congress. And it's because he doesn't run from liberty, and he doesn't sit there and mince his words that he's so popular. And, of course, he was the top Secret Service agent on the foreign details and was a rising star in the whole operation, but had to resign because he could not be part. He's told the story many times, so I'm just recapping it. He can put it in his own words if he wants to. He would not compromise. And he said he was hearing things and seeing things working for Obama that were so immoral and so bad and so anti-American that he couldn't sleep at night. Since he left a few years ago, he's been broken into, his office, you name it. His car has been messed with. He's been harassed. He's been threatened. They might arrest him like Dinesh D'Souza. They might arrest him like the governor, former governor of Virginia. I mean, folks, this isn't a game, okay? You got a crooked toenail, they're going to arrest you. And I'm not going off of that angle here, to try to be melodramatic. This is happening, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not going to get into the stuff that goes on around here, but I mean, it's Creepville, okay? Feds going and talking to people that know me, family, you name it, trying to intimidate them, trying to freak them out. Obama is doing things that have never been done. I mean, it makes Nixon, who had a list of 100 people, just a list of their income tax, and he had to step down finally because of that. We're talking about auditing and harassing the Tea Party, pro-life groups. I mean, this is a criminal takeover. And we've got Dan Bongino to the bottom of the hour running for Congress, and he needs more support because the electronic voting machines, you name it. I've talked to all the electronic voting machine experts, like Bev Harris and others, who's got the HBO special, Hacking Democracy. And she said it's landslides that the vote fraud people can't beat. So Bongino should win with 90% because the backlash is so big. He'll probably win with 60%. So we've got to have like 50 points on the board just to win the football game. We've got to have 50 extra points because they're going to cheat so much. You understand? It's an uphill battle, but we can win it. Sometimes it's easier to win an uphill battle than a downhill battle. That's what makes us stronger, as Nietzsche said. So I wanted to cover the waterfront with him. And as a former federal law enforcement officer, what does he make of telling illegals we're going to release you, even aggravated felons, child rapists, bank robbers, you name it, 60-something thousand in the last 2 months, cutting almost all the deportations, red carpeting to hundreds of thousands of illegal kids, thousands per military base. The border has imploded. The head of the Border Patrol Union came out again today, it's on Infowars.com, and said this is designed to implode the border. Well, of course it does. It isn't a humanitarian crisis. It is a takeover. And I want to see what Dan Bongino, with his highly informed former New York cop as well, before he became a Secret Service agent, what he sees from his perspective of what this is, because saying our military's under NATO, funding al-Qaeda to attack Syria, now they're taking over Iraq with the weapons, that's on record. Fast and Furious, not getting in trouble for that. I mean, I'm living in a twilight zone here. What is happening, Dan?
Yeah, Alex, it's, as I said in a previous interview I had done, I think it's worse than people really know. Now, your audience is pretty informed. I knock on a lot of doors, and especially out in Western Maryland, you have a big support base out there. A lot of folks know me from your show out there. But, not many are. There are a lot of other folks out there that really don't understand the level of lawlessness going on. It is absolutely unprecedented. I mean, we have Jonathan Turley, a liberal professor who absolutely supports liberal priorities and legislation, saying, this is the president that Nixon always wanted to be. It's like there's so many leaks in the House, you're running out of fingers to plug the leaks with, and no one knows where to start. It's so bad, Alex, that the two liberal senators here in Democratic, very blue Maryland, very liberal senators, Mikulski and Cardin, they just had a statement, one of them, I think it was Cardin, put out, where the citizens of Baltimore City, pretty liberal city by anyone's standards, came out and said, no, we can't take these the illegals here. They're trying to put them up in an empty building in Baltimore City, and they're saying, we can't even take care of our own city. This isn't some kind of a hotel over here, folks. We have to clean up our own neighborhoods first, take care of our own problems. I mean, that's how out of control it is. They're even losing, not just Democrats, they're even losing liberals. I mean, if that doesn't speak to a level of unprecedented, intentional legislative chaos, then I don't know what else does. So we're in a dangerous time. And you're right. I'm glad you said that this isn't melodrama, because people, don't be melodramatic. No, be melodramatic, folks. I'm telling you, I saw a lot of this stuff on the inside, the wheeling and dealing, and both of these parties selling, one party's selling you out to big business, the other one's selling you out to big government. It's like a horse trade, who's going to cut us the bigger check when we vote this way? I mean, it is really time to get out there at these voting booths and vote for Liberty candidates who walk the walk. And everybody talks the talk, but who actually get out there and walk the walk.
What does it say, though, to the establishment that everyone's running away from Obama, but at the same time, he's doing everything he wants, acting as a dictator, as many constitutional lawyers have said? I'm not saying, again, he's going to stay in office and that he will be a de facto dictator forever. I'm saying the bureaucracy, the Democratic Party, is acting in a dictatorial, lawless way, whether it's, they admit it, violated dozens of federal laws to just release prisoners without the 30-day hearings with Congress. They're just doing whatever they want on every front, and the precedent's being set. What do you think the battle plan is with Obama? Because I've got to say this. He's much worse than I thought he would be.
Yeah.
And for the first time in my life, Mr. Bongino, I'm beyond scared. I am more shell-shocked right now that this is so over the top. I guess it's like finding out your neighbor's got 30 dead bodies in their backyard. It's just, a normal person, I don't think, I know why the public doesn't know what to do, because I don't know what to do. It's faced with this level of just foaming at the mouth criminality. What do you think we should do? And what are they thinking as there's a total resistance forming against them?
Well, listen, if I had a battle plan, and you're right, a lot of people don't know what to do, and it's no fault of theirs. It's just so much. You're being hit on 30 different fronts, to steal a line from the left, their 30-front war, and they do this intentionally. The Cloward-Piven model, just overload the system. Here's what you do. Number one, we have to build public pressure. I say that a lot because I get the question all the time. Do you support Obama's impeachment? And I tell people, frankly, no, you haven't won the public case. And people say, what do you think? He hasn't broken laws? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to tell you, folks, is we have not built the public case yet. You were talking about a process, a legal process. It's like an indictment. That's what impeachment is. It's like an indictment for the president. You then have to try the case. You don't indict a case, you're not going to win. You don't. We haven't built the public pressure. That's number one. How do we do that? So here's the battle plan. We have got to find more whistleblowers. We have to find people on the inside, like me, willing to speak out and say, hey, folks, this is not right. And right now, what I don't understand, Alex, is where are the people in the DOJ, the FBI agents within the DOJ administrative staff coming out and saying, hey, this IRS thing, we were sending, they were sending confidential donor information to the DOJ. Where's the person saying, hey, I was the one who hit send, this isn't right, we got to change this? Where are the IRS agents speaking out and saying, hey, when I swore my oath, Alex, it was to the Constitution, not to anything else. Where are these folks? And the third part of this process, so public pressure, getting people on the inside to speak out. But the third part is we have to build an electoral presence, too. It's not just good enough anymore to vote for Republicans. Frankly, it's useless. It's almost destroying the cause because we get these squishes in there. They don't do anything, and then they tarnish the brand and make it even worse. It's time to start voting for liberty-oriented candidates who you hold to account. Don't put it, don't make a golden calf out of anyone. We hold to account, but you can at least trust that they can talk the talk and walk the walk. When they get out there and they shake your hand, they can look you in the eye, and you believe these people. They understand what's going on with the Fed. They understand, Cloward-Piven. They understand what's going on with why the Constitution was written as a document of negative powers by the government, what they can't do to you. That's the kind of folks. We get through that three-step process. Eventually, we'll have something to do. But you can't just say, oh, we got to impeach the president. Okay, you're going to lose, just like you did with Clinton. And then you know what happens? You make him more powerful. We have to have an actual tactical battle plan going forward, and just throwing out stuff like that without an actual plan to implement it is just a suicide plan.
Well, I agree with you, and you're actually technically right. As you know, the House indicts the president, the Senate then tries him. Right. And so you've got to actually go after him with more than just a intern. They wanted to go after him on the intern because it was isolated to just lying to a grand jury. it was isolated to only one issue that protected the political class. The truth is, if the Republican leadership wanted to go after him for Solyndra or wanted to go after him for Benghazi or Fast and Furious or any of it, they could prove it and bring him down. But there's not the moral will because it's a bunch of establishment rhinos. But as they get replaced, as we're about to see in this midterm election, as we just saw this amazing primary win by David Brat,
yeah,
I'd like you to speak to that because bottom line, the Democrats are going for the full takeover right now. What's your take on Brat? B, and Republicans winning primaries all over the place as well. What do you think the establishment's going to do to try to counter that?
Oh, let me tell you something. Brat was a wake-up call, not just for our side, the grassroots liberty lovers out there, but you don't think they're going to take this lying down. This is like a UFC match where you think you're going to kick the guy's butt. All of a sudden, he wallops you in the face, and you're like, oh, boy, this isn't going to be as easy a fight as I thought. The establishment, I'm in D.C. all the time, meeting with grassroots warriors over there, doing God's work. They know for a fact that the establishment's now rearming again. They're not going to be, and let me give you a quote from one of them, they're not going to be surprised again. So they are understanding that the people knocking on the doors and waving the signs are not with them. So they're going to go out and they're going to try and do what they always do. They're going to try to buy elections. They're going to try and put people like me down. They're going to try and put Chris McDaniel down. There's a John Carr in Tennessee. They're going to try and put folks down. They're going to try to suppress them because that's what they do. That's all they can do, Alex. They lost the people a long time ago. You know, there's an insurrection going on in the Republican Party right now, and it's just hysterical, too, how, like, the left, you know, they just go along with their candidate randomly. Like you put a D in front of their name, and, oh, it's all good. It doesn't even matter what they stand for. And the media is in such a tizzy because they can't believe the fact that there are liberty-loving folks out there that actually care about liberty. They're like, what do you mean they didn't elect Eric Cantor? That's a surprise. He was their leader. No, he ain't my leader. I'm not. I don't subscribe to what I don't worship golden calves, okay? He did not stand up for the people. He's not out there shaking the hands. He was not standing for the cause of liberty, and people didn't get behind him. I don't know why the media is so surprised. I think they're surprised because they don't have the values we do, and they don't understand that liberty actually matters because they believe in a redistributionist state run by the bureaucratic elites who sit there with their bow ties and tell us all what to do while we all go broke and they enrich themselves at our expense. Well, no more. Those days are over. I'm not subscribing to that. Not one more day.
Well, that brings me to my next point. We saw the tragic 2 police officers and a citizen killed. And if you even believe the official story, because who knows with the establishment these days, you got a guy with crazy Joker videos that looks completely mentally ill, into death cults with his girlfriend, just like you've got these other kids stabbing, you know, little girls to death because, you know, there's another comic book character they like. And they're trying to blame Ronald Reagan and Rand Paul and me and saying we're responsible when all I ever say is we don't want a violent revolution. We want a peaceful restoration. And I'm really concerned that Obama came out, and it was on CBS 2 days ago, but here's the headline. Obama cites Australia's gun confiscation program as example for U.S. And now, if they actually try to have an executive order on some type of gun confiscation, say, of semi-autos, and if they try to send out armored vehicles like they're doing in California to confiscate guns, I mean, this is a powder keg. And I think if I was Obama and I wanted to take over, I would try to stir up the libertarian constitutional movement and try to push people into a corner. I mean, we see these headlines about veterans are the #1 terror threat with no evidence of that, no crime statistics to show that. What I'm getting at is it looks like they're trying to start some type of civil war.
Well, remember, the only way to get you in America, which is generally a country of good people, generally, I mean, we've been the most philanthropic country in the history of Earth, you know, to really hate their neighbor and to vote against them is to demonize them and put them in the boxes, union, non-union, black, white, Hispanic, immigrant, man, woman, war on women. That's what the left does. Remember, the Republican Party generally, at least the good ones, they don't do that. They run on let's cut your taxes, let's defeat Obamacare, that kind of stuff. The left doesn't do that. The left runs on this agenda of this guy's not you, therefore you should not like him. Vote for me. I'll keep the not you away from you.
They vote on class warfare. They vote on division. They vote on racial strife. They are not liberals. I mean, I've got to say it. I mean, the Democratic Party is a pack of mentally ill criminals. Now, I'm not talking about their grassroots people. A lot of them mean well. But I've got to say, when you look at MSNBC and these people, they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it, because I knock on a lot of doors out there, and I knock on Democrats with high voter scores, people who show up. And believe me, a lot of them are frustrated, too. They're Democrats because their parents are. I mean, my mother's a Democrat, and she'll never vote Democrat again. She was the JFK Democrat. Those days are over. But, you brought up an interesting point, too, about them, pinpointing people like yourself and other talk radios. Oh, look what you guys did. But keep in mind, Alex, think of that. This is the hypocritical frauds these people in the media are. They never mention Floyd Corkins. Floyd Corkins, who shot up the Family Research Council, and
he said he did it because of the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it clear as day. The Southern Poverty Law, the biggest leftist kooks you've ever seen. Who, if you say anything about anything, if you are pro-life, you're a hate group, according to these nuts. This guy said. I read about the Family Research Council and their stance on gay marriage, and I didn't like. So he basically shot the place up. The media almost completely ignores the story, and yet you get these two psychopaths in Nevada who apparently were even kicked off that ranch. We were too nutty for the ranch out there too. And all of a sudden, every conservative who's ever preached liberty and low taxes is somehow related. I mean, think about the utter stupidity of that. But that's the media, and I'll tell you what, I just ignore it. I know it's hard because they don't like you because you do something that scares them, and that command attention. They don't want that. See, the media wants to monopolize the megaphone, and you got this guy coming up behind them saying, wait, I can do that too, and they don't like that. So they have to say, oh, be careful, they're dangerous. Don't look at these guys. But they don't admit their own role with Corkins, Jared Lee Loughner, even going back to Oswald. Oswald was a leftist.
Well, I mean, Dan, they're even trying now in the news, in fact, I'm looking for the article right here, to basically say that David Brat is weird because he says Hitler could happen again. Well, I mean, of course tyranny can happen again. It happens most of the time. So I mean, again, it's like Obama saying and Biden at all these speeches and Kerry, come back to government. Believe in it again like it's a religion. Right. Trust it. It's the answer. Don't listen to people that warn about tyranny. Well, that's what America's all about.
Yeah. They'll pick Brat apart, anything he said, because they are so desperate to make this story go away. Because what bothers them, Alex, more than anything we've spoken about in this phone call, is a grassroots insurrection against big government, Republicans and Democrats. That drives them nuts because the fact is, and you know this as well as I do, there's some people in the Republican Party that are friends to big government Democrats.
Oh, yeah.
They all sell out to the same
John Boehner?
Crowd. Yeah, these people are not leaders. They just sell out to a different golden calf they kneel before. Either way, you've sold out. They're not bedrocked in real values. The fact that a grassroots rebellion in Virginia 7 could unseat the second most powerful man in Congress. Think about that. With no money, nothing, peanuts, a tip in a restaurant in donation terms for fundraising, that they could unseat him by double digits. These guys are running in fear. They will do anything to discredit Brad. You're going to see these stories every day. Brad pulled a girl's hair once in 8th grade. You're going to see it every day. And it just
remember the Democrats with Rand Paul when he won the primary? They went out and dressed up as hayseeds and said racist things on TV, and it turned out they actually worked for the Democratic Party.
Oh, that's all they. I mean, that's all they have, though. They don't have anything else. You know what bothers them most about Brad? He gets up there and he actually understands how the biggest form of taxation this country's ever seen is the Fed. He goes up there and explains, hey, folks, if you have $1 and I tax you 25 cents, I've taken 25 cents. You have 75 cents left. But if I go out there and I give you $1, right, and I tax away the value of it via inflation, and it's only worth 10 cents, I've taxed you 90 cents whether you know it or not. And he explains this in common sense economic terms. The left is like, wait, we can't have that information out there, folks. Information is dangerous unless we can lie to people about it.
Well, Dan, I got to say it. I mean, you're super articulate. You're a smart guy. Your book's already a bestseller. I mean, you would be perfect in Congress, and I don't want to have to knock on wood here, but I mean, you were telling me during the break when we first got you on that things are going really well, but they could pull a lot of tricks. People need to get behind you in Maryland. They need to get behind every other true liberty-based candidate, and people could just hear what you're speaking. You're a whistleblower. You exposed Obama. I know you've gone through a lot of harassment. People need to pray for you and your family. Have you gotten any more harassment?
Yeah, it's always, one of our security cameras messed with. It's always something. Yeah, it's always there, and I just roll with it. We all have to make sacrifices. I'm a believer in the second creation, and you pay your dues here. So I'm not worried about it. The fight's the fight. People have no one's as powerful as George III, right? So I'm not that worried about it.
It's funny that I go through some harassment as well, and I don't know what it is. You don't like to talk about it. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's going on. It's like you don't even want to give it attention that they're doing it. But it's important to show what scum these people are.
You know what? It is, and I don't, one, because I think it incentivizes more of it, and I have two daughters. But secondly, I'm 6'1", 215 pounds. I grew up boxing and wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I was fighting with the Gracies when no one knew who they were. So I got a pretty thick skin.
No, I get it. Absolutely. You're calling their bluff. Dan Bongino, Bongino.com. Folks can follow him on Facebook, going there and following it through. Thank you for the time, and I can't wait to call you Congressman here on the broadcast and turn this country around. Thank you so much for your courage. All right, I'm going to say it. There goes Congressman Dan Bongino. Folks, I'm telling you, they're going to try to pull a false flag to blame the Tea Party. Get ready for that. From the water table to our soils to the atmosphere itself, our world is becoming more and more toxic each and every day. But it's not just the air outside that's toxic. Indoor air has been shown to have 2 to 5 times higher concentrations of pollutants than even outdoor air. And most Americans spend 90% of their time inside using toxic chemicals within their homes. There are more than 42 million smokers in the United States. Well over 1,000 types of mold and mildew linked to numerous conditions. And don't forget the fact that 6 million Americans live with pets they're allergic to as well. When I began to research these statistics, it was clear to me it was time to start cleansing my lungs in order to combat the toxic environment that we cannot escape, but that we can fight back against. Made with organic and wild cultivated herbs and manufactured in the USA, the new InfoWars Life Lung Cleanse is here in a convenient spray bottle that can be brought with you throughout any toxic environment. Now available exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.